China, August 12, 2025. China is still shrouded in darkness. The sky is pitch black with clouds pressing low to the ground as if ready to swallow the entire nation. From Gansu to Beijing, from Chongqing to Zhejiang, millions of people are racing against death. Flash floods, torrential rain, and a super typhoon offshore are striking in 3 directions at once, turning August days into a never-ending nightmare. On the morning of August 12th, the Chinese sky was as heavy as a giant gray curtain hanging just above the ground, blocking out the sun. The wind changed direction, rushing through Gansu's mountain passes, carrying a cold dampness, the smell of mud and rotting debris, remnants of a devastating flash flood that killed 15 people, left hundreds missing, and buried nearly 3,000 houses. Residents of Yuzhong County, Gansu, recalled that on the night of August 7th, the rain poured down as if the sky had been torn apart, drenching hills and streams around the village. At first, it was the familiar patter on the tiled roofs, but as dawn approached, the rain turned into a roar, mixed with the sound of hundreds of boulders crashing from the sky. Before anyone could react, a torrent of muddy water swept through, taking everything in its path. Maliantan and Xinyawanshe, once peaceful villages on the mountainside, now exist only as names on the map. A 71-year-old woman, trembling, tightly held the reporter's hand, said, "It came like a monster. I only heard the neighbors scream, then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a rooftop with swirling water below as if it wanted to swallow the entire village." Survivors all described the same thing. The flash flood sounded like a giant freight train tearing through the mountains, shaking the earth. In Xinglongshan, once a favorite stop for hikers, there is now a sea of thick mud a meter deep. Trail signs barely stick out above the flow, shaking in the current. At least 15 are dead. Hundreds are missing. Over 37 villages are in darkness after power grids were completely destroyed. More than 2,500 houses lie in ruins, windows shattered, doors torn from their frames, furniture floating away. Rescue forces are working around the clock. Excavators carve paths into isolated villages. Where machinery can't reach, they switch to rubber boats. In some areas, rescuers wade through raging currents, clinging to lifelines, hauling heavy sacks of relief goods. One rescue commander said over the radio, "Every passing hour, the hope for the missing fades. We can't stop." While Gansu is drowning in tragedy, Chongqing in Sichuan is battling torrential rain. Since the morning of August 10th, heavy rain has been recorded at 137 stations across 16 districts and counties, with some places hitting 167 millimeter. In Nannan District, trees were uprooted, blocking roads. Cars were stranded in knee-deep water. Streets turned into rivers, and motorbikes became unwilling motorboats. An office worker shared a video online, forcing a smile as he waded waist-deep to get to work. The rain caused the Haixi River and the Luoxi River tributary to rise above warning levels, while 53 other medium and small rivers swelled by 1 to 5 meters. In Jingongbei Village, Beibei District, it took only minutes for the water to reach residents' windowsills. A young father recalled the terrifying moment he carried his child to the attic just as the flood swept his child's bicycle out the door. Authorities activated a Level 2 emergency response, evacuating over 15,000 people. Convoys of trucks carried residents away from danger to the sound of blaring sirens and crying children. In the north, Beijing hasn't even recovered from last month's storm that killed at least 44 people. Now, over 80,000 residents in low-lying areas have been ordered to evacuate again as heavy rain is forecast to return. The storm's center may not hit Beijing directly, but no one dares to be complacent. Residents still remember the 2012 disaster when 79 people died, many trapped in underpasses or basement apartments. Migrant workers in makeshift housing are often the first victims, yet rarely appear in official statistics. But all this misfortune is only the opening act. Offshore, Typhoon number 11 Yongliu is swirling like a giant dragon ready to strike. At 2 p.m. on August 12th, its center was about 950 km east of Xiamen, moving west at 25 km per hour and intensifying. It is forecast to hit southeastern Taiwan at noon on August 13th, with gusts up to level 15, then charge into the Taiwan Strait and slam southern Fujian and eastern Guangdong that same night. Some areas could see 250 millimeters of rain in just a few hours, with winds strong enough to topple steel power poles and rip roofs apart. On August 12th, Zhejiang Province immediately issued an emergency response to Yongliu. Fishing ports in Wenzhou and Taizhou were packed with vessels returning to shelter. Fishermen rushed to secure their boats, remove nets, and dismantle equipment before the storm hit. A tanned middle-aged man on a ship's deck told his colleague, "This year's storms are strange, fast, and fierce. One wrong move and it's all gone." All coastal tourism routes were shut down. Beaches were eerily empty, the waves growing louder by the hour. On this day, China's picture is painted in three grim shades. In Gansu, mud, rocks, debris, and infrastructure are gone without a trace. In Chongqing, blood-red rivers smash water-level records. Offshore, the roaring storm is ready to strike land. Sirens, helicopters, excavators, and cries for help merge into one chaotic symphony of disaster. But in the chaos, there are rare glimmers of light. A rescuer carrying an elderly woman through raging waters. A 12-year-old boy rowing a small wooden boat to deliver relief goods to a neighbor's door. Volunteer groups going house to house urging evacuations despite the danger. In the dark, flashlights and rescue vehicle beams sweep over rooftops half submerged, reminding everyone that people are still fighting to save each life, each home. Tomorrow, Typhoon Yanglu will hit. The day after, perhaps another flood will come. But for those standing in the eye of nature's fury, every passing hour is a battle for survival. Will they withstand these three deadly blows from the sky and earth? And how many more stories will be buried under the mud and floodwaters before the sky returns to peace? The answer lies ahead.